And as we've told you, word came down in the past hour that the House will not hold a vote tonight. Lakeshore Congressman Bill Huizenga is in Washington tonight. He joins us live. Congressman, thanks for joining us tonight.
Hey, good to be with you.
Thanks so much. And first off, what happened? Why no vote tonight?
Well, actually, that's not entirely accurate. In fact, just as I was driving over here, I got another alert from our whip team and our floor leader, our majority leader, Eric Cantor's office, to stay close. And my family's all out here. Literally, we're going to be having dinner up here on Capitol Hill and hanging out in my office waiting for something to happen and ringing in the new year there at 1217 Longworth. So, nobody's gone. Nobody's, not taking this seriously. But I've said all along that this cliff, as it's been called, maybe isn't quite the same as some of the other issues that we've seen in the past. And this is really about making sure we have our spending in line, and that doesn't seem to be a priority at all for this White House.
Well, if it does come to pass that there is no vote tonight, can Congress still act in time to prevent people from seeing an impact from the missed deadline?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. This current Congress goes through until noon on Thursday, the 3rd. Obviously, no markets or anything are going to be open tomorrow. We've got the 2nd and the morning of the 3rd. Very frustrating for me as a small business person to operate this way. But I can tell you, back in August, the House passed a couple of different solutions. It's taken this long for the Senate to actually work on that. And frankly, I don't think the president's pep rally or campaign rally that passed off as a press conference today helped the matter at all over in the Senate. So there's been a number of things that have been sort of slowing it down, and it makes one wonder if this administration doesn't want this fiscal cliff to happen.
Well, it looks like if any deal is going to pass, that it will mean an increase in taxes for people with the highest incomes. What do you see as what's going to happen moving forward with that?
Yeah, obviously a bit unclear where the Senate is going to go. Let me be clear. First, I believe that we ought to leave tax rates exactly where they are. The reality is based on actions that were taken both 12 years ago and 2 years ago, tax rates are going to be going up for everybody. They should have made these permanent back 12 years ago. At the time, the Senate refused to go along with that. So we're living with the ramifications of that sunset. So everybody's taxes are going to be going up unless we do something about it. I am confident, though, that we're going to be able to do that. And I kind of view myself and many of my colleagues as lifeguards. And at some point or another, we're going to have to go in and rescue as many people who are caught in this riptide as we possibly can and pull them back. And I don't want anybody to see their taxes go up, but especially middle class and lower middle class that are still struggling. This is about, at the end of the day, though, economic activity and recovery. And that's what we have to have. And whatever tax structure we put in place, we have to keep that in mind. Are we going to improve the atmosphere for private sector job growth, or are we going to hurt it? And I'm afraid right now the White House and the Senate are on the path to hurt it. And it's my job to make sure that we make that as good as possible.
Last question, big picture question. Democrats and Republicans have been so far apart for so long. People are getting fed up with the inactivity in Washington. Why can't the sides seem to reach any common ground on these issues? And it takes a deadline and coming to an emergency like a fiscal cliff to make anything happen.
Yeah, it's very, very frustrating, and I can tell you I don't run my little gravel operation this way, and nobody should run the operation this way because it is terribly frustrating, and that uncertainty that's out there. And again, I feel so frustrated at times when I look back in what we've done, whether it's proposing budgets that handle our long-term fiscal responsibilities with Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security, whether it's short-term budgets that we've passed, whether it's back in August when we passed with 19 Democrats voting for it, a package that would have taken care of all of the tax rates as they currently are. We've offered solution after solution, and I get it. There was a lot of things caught up on the campaign trail with the president and Mitt Romney, but we're beyond that, and that's why today's press conference, quote unquote, was so puzzling. Why the president would sort of set the tone again for that. So I believe we're going to be able to get through it. It's just not a very pretty picture, but it's also not new. Just go see the movie Lincoln or read the novel Washington, and this isn't the first time we've had to go through this as a nation. Yeah,
saw that movie. Very good movie. Congressman Huizenga, thanks for joining us tonight. We appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it, and Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you as well. And we want to bring in 24 Hours News's political reporter Rick Albin live now with how this could play out in the coming days. Now, Rick, you heard it right there from the congressman. He says that they're not going anywhere, so they may or may not be taking a vote tonight, Rick.
Well, I don't think they will be taking a vote tonight, but I do think they will in the next several days. And I think one of the reasons that this has been dragging on so long is because the very fundamental differences that Congressman Huizenga pointed out. There are three things at play here. One, revenues, which Democrats want more of. Republicans do not want to see taxes raised on anybody. It looks like now that may be around $450,000, maybe the threshold for that if a deal gets put together. And then the spending cuts, which Democrats and Republicans are both concerned about. You heard Senator John McCain and Steve Handelsman's piece talk about his concerns about cutting defense precipitously, as he would see it. And there are also domestic cuts that many Democrats don't want. What we may end up with here, if we end up with anything at all, will be some increased revenues, less than half of what the president had originally hoped for, and perhaps no spending cuts at all. If that happens, what have we done from a policy standpoint? Well, very little to address the larger problem that Republicans and Democrats have been arguing about for years, and that is the spending, the overspending, as Republicans would call it, and the borrowing that concerns so many Americans. So what do you end up with when this is all over? Can they reach some sort of an agreement to keep sequester or the automatic cuts from going into place? The answer is yes. Can they do something that will keep the majority of Americans from getting tax increases as of the first or second, as it were? Yes. Do they have to do it by tonight? No. They can work into tomorrow, into Wednesday, into Thursday. Quite frankly, deadlines in Washington very often are only suggestions. They aren't like they are in our lives. So they can move that goalpost if they need to. And I suggest that there will be some type of a compromise, but it's going to be nothing like the all-encompassing tax increase and big spending cuts that had been called for about 15 months ago. And quite frankly, even then, many people looked at that and said that that was pure fantasy. Over the next 24 to 72 hours, I think that will prove to be exactly so. We, of course, will continue to keep an eye on it and let you know exactly what it's going to mean to you when it finally does materialize. Live now, back to you, Mark.